Alright, hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Sarah Sutton. I'm an indie author of 5 young adult romance books, and I am working on my 6th, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. If you want to check them out, they are all linked down below. Right now, they're in the process of transitioning into Kindle Unlimited. Bear with me, we're going there, we're getting there, we're in the process, but you can still buy them off of Amazon. But if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to my channel. Editing Sarah here. I'm actually going to be interjecting quite a bit through this video about my thoughts and stuff because it's changed. Draft 2 has definitely changed, and you know, I'm watching this video now and I think there's definitely some good pieces to keep and include. I'm watching it now and I'm like, I said I had a part where it's like, make sure all your characters are like well-rounded and cohesive, and my characters, according to my betas, they're so bland. So it's just like, Sarah, you're eating your words here, but I want to like go through with it and chat with you guys about that. So there's gonna be interjections throughout this video. I hope you enjoy. Guys, the bugs are so freaking loud today. It's fine. How are we doing? How are we doing? Let's just take a second to check in with ourselves. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling very well. It is 12:49, so I have a few things I need to do today. One of them be film this video and talk to you guys about my whole process with this draft. But let me know down below, how are you feeling today? On a scale of 1 to 10, what would be your number? I think I'm feeling probably a 7. I feel like a 7 is a good number for how I'm feeling. I'm not feeling like a crazy 10, but I'm also not feeling like a 5. I'm feeling like a good 7. It's a good stable number. How are you guys feeling? Let me know in the comments below. So I have no idea at which point this is cutting off. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos so far, or I don't know if the video is playing after it, or I don't even know if I scrapped the video entirely. I recorded a 20-minute video talking about Draft 2, and you know, Draft 2 of my work in progress. Well, let's just say I asked my beta readers to stop reading. So I filmed a whole video talking about my progress with Draft 2, like how I felt about it, how I felt like the overall month that I was working on it, right? And I filmed the entire video and I'm like, I feel so great with my work in progress. And then I sent it to betas and I was like, okay, I feel good, I feel excited. A few betas got back to me very early. It is September 4th, by the way, which kudos to them. A few of them got back to me and they're like, Sarah, I remember you saying, you know, like you had picked the wrong love interest. I think I have to agree with you on that. And I was like, oh. So the general consensus was the love interest was a bit boring and the best friend was the one that had the most chemistry. And I was so afraid of that happening. I was so afraid of it happening. Then back in the beginning when I was first doing Draft 1, I'm like, man, I think I picked the wrong love interest because I was digging the best friend too. Fudge. So I picked the wrong love interest. So I have to go in and change. I feel like I'm acting a bit stressed. I am stressed. However, I do think the fix is going to be a good one. I've talked it out with several betas, and we were talking about like ways to change it, ways to alter it, what I could do instead of changing love interests entirely and stuff like that. So we brainstormed it out, but I definitely do think that changing the love interest will be overall better off. I don't know what I want to say, but it will be better if I do change it because without giving spoilers, the love interest right now, there's really nothing like, I don't know, he's really not that interesting. I mean, I don't know, he's fine. But the best friend is kind of like pessimistic, you know. He's pessimistic. He isn't really that into Christmas, you know, isn't really that into the holiday season, holiday cheer, you know. My main character loves holiday stuff, loves cheer, loves snow, loves Christmas, all that stuff. So right off the bat, we have a much more interesting dynamic of, you know, optimist and pessimist, you know what I mean? So I do have some betas who say no, keep the way it is, but I just think now that I've like thought through what I could change, my gut is really telling me to change it, and I feel like I'd be so much more happier with the story if I were to change it, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I asked my betas to stop reading, because the ones who were left who hadn't finished yet, I sent them an email. I'm just like, you know, you can stop. You don't have to worry about giving me feedback, because the story is going to massively change. We're gonna do this, and I'm gonna document this entire journey, so I hope you guys are ready to see how September goes. The funny thing is, even in the beginning, I was like, Sarah, did you pick the wrong love interest? And I was like, no. Sarah, you didn't. It's fine. Sarah, just ignore that feeling. And I ignored the feeling. And then several, I think 3 people confirmed that with me. Listen to your gut, guys. Listen to your gut. That doesn't usually steer you wrong. It's fine. But that's the update. I don't know where that clip's going to be in this video. If it's at the beginning. Enjoy listening to past Sarah be so happy and excited about her drafts too. If this is at the end of the video, know that more update vlogs are going to be coming about working through this. We have a deadline. And, you know, I'm really excited about this change. I'm excited to tackle it, and I think it's going to be better in the long run, and that's really all you can hope for, you know what I mean? If I wouldn't change it, you know, I feel like I wouldn't be staying true to myself as an author, staying true to, like, the standards I uphold for myself as an author. You know what I mean? I feel like if I weren't just going to make this change, it just doesn't feel right. You know, it doesn't feel like I'm doing the characters justice. It doesn't feel like I'm doing the reader justice. It doesn't feel like I'm doing myself justice. So that's what makes this change necessary. I think that's what makes this big, monstrous edit necessary. And you know what? I'm excited to dive in. At first, I wasn't going to make this video. I really didn't see a point in making this video. However, when I went back to edit my monthly vlog for August, it launched Friday. I'll leave a video link here or down below in the description box for you guys to click on and go check that video out. Is me vlogging my entire experience of drafting this book, Draft 2. So when I went through and edited that footage, I was like, man, I had a time and a half going through this book. There were several times where I felt like overwhelmed, like I wasn't loving my progress, I wasn't loving the story as a whole. I felt like it was very like rough, you know, so bugs, I swear to God. Even from the changes that I made from draft 1 to draft 2, it was such a different, it turned into like such a different story. So much so that the title changed. So that's not the first time that's happened for me. When I was writing Can't Catch My Breath, the original title was Telling the Perfect Lie. And then even for Out of My League, the original title was Hitting a Home Run. So it's funny how titles can just like change. But like If the Room Fits and Two Kinds of Us and What Are Friends For, I'm pretty sure we're spot on, like consistent. The same title. It's just funny how different it is, you know? But as I was like working through that story, I'm like, man, that has been a journey, and like I would love to talk about that a bit more in depth, about how I structure my draft 2 edits, how this time was different from me, and like how I felt about the whole experience, and would I set myself the same amount of deadline again if I had a choice. So I set myself a month deadline for draft 2 edits because I wanted to send it to beta readers September 1st, and then I wanted to get that back September 15th to do my draft 3 edits and then send to my editor October 4th. So far we are on par with all of that. But would I do that again? Would I give myself a month again? But if you guys have not hit that like button already, hit that like button if you want to. If you like this kind of content. Yeah. Okay. Let's hop into the video. I'm a pretty fast writer. I feel like things just kind of like word vomit onto the page pretty easily for me. However, that word vomit can be kind of tough to come back and transform into not vomit, because who wants to read vomit? I did things a little bit differently for this book. I'll try and chill with the hand motions. I'm just very excited today. Put a lot of coffee in my coffee today. It's good, but I did this draft a bit differently than I normally do, being that I printed it out. It's not often that I print out drafts. Honestly, I rarely do. I don't know why it was calling my name this time. I feel like it was really just like, Sarah, print me, you know? And I was like, okay, I'll print you. I don't know. And, you know, I don't print them out because sometimes I have a trouble of going through them fully. Like I'll get like halfway into the reading through process and then I'm like, okay, I just want to stop and start the editing process, because what I do is I print out my manuscript and I print it out from Staples or Office Max or something like that. That way I don't waste my ink. And honestly, this was $15, I think. I feel like what I do is I print it out and I have 3 colors that I use. I use a color for deleting something, a color for editing something, and then a color for like adding more. So like if I like a line and I want to add like more detail, I'll add that color to add more. Or for the editing, I will say, okay, in my head, I don't like how this is phrased, so we will swipe the edit color. And if I don't make a note about what I wanted to change, we just gotta pray that I remember. The cool thing is about printing it out is that you're seeing it in a different form, or I'm seeing it in a different form, and it's easier to kind of look at it a bit more objectively than like going straight through into the Word doc. However, I normally do it that way. I normally dive straight into the Word doc, so I mean, this was just an interesting little experiment for me. My ice is melting. This draft went through a lot of changes, and I want to talk about a little bit of them without fully diving in. In terms of draft 1 to draft 2 edits, or draft 2 edit, how do I phrase that? Draft 1 edits? That sounds strange. I guess draft 2 edits. In terms of draft 2 edits, I don't necessarily, it kind of changes for every book, but this is kind of the stage where it's the bigger picture edits. I go in, and if anything's a plot hole, obviously you want to fix that. We don't want plot holes here. But I think another thing is like kind of, if my character is too boring, bland, or, you know, rude or something like that, whatever her character trait is that's coming off overall, this is the time where I fix that and make it how I want it to make it. So I don't wait to fix the big stuff until draft 3, because I really want to have this draft 2 as polished as possible to send to beta readers. So draft 2 is really adding scenes that need to be added to fit into the story and making sure everything kind of has a nice ebb and flow. So draft 1 really is, like I said, word vomit onto the page. Draft 2 is fixing it all up and making sure that all the scenes are cohesive. All the characters are well-rounded and unique enough that you'd be able to tell them apart, and to make sure that the conflict is nice and tight. Because sometimes conflict can be like wishy-washy in draft 1 for me. Definitely was for some of my books. So first interjection, I had just said like keep your this is the edit where I make my main characters like more interesting and more well-rounded. According to me, because the whole process for beta readers, it's because you don't see the bigger picture. You don't see things because you're so familiar with these characters and the story that it's hard for you to see the things you're missing. Obviously, that's the whole point. So for me, my characters, I feel like they needed more tweaking, and I can see now, like looking back with the feedback, it's like, okay, yeah, they were kind of very one-dimensional. So it's really important to get them subplots, and I really need to work on that for the next round. So that's something like I do it to the best of my ability. Like I edit them as much as I can, and then I send it to betas, and I can see their feedback with it and stuff. But because this round, they needed a lot of work, and the entire plot needed a lot of work, and I see it now, and I'm excited to dive in, but man, it was a doozy. So going in and then like making sure that conflict is there and, you know, tight and interesting is one of the bigger things for me that I need to tackle. And I feel like draft 2 is where I fully dive into like the theme of the story. So draft 1 is kind of like getting the fun, tropey promise of the premise down. But draft 2 is taking all that fun, tropey promise of the premise stuff and making sure it fits the theme of the story, or crafting the theme of the story to really fit the, you know, promise of the premise. Draft 2 is where my title changed because I realized that even though I had that promise of the premise, the overall theme of the story was completely different from what the title was. In draft 1, the title fit perfectly. But in draft 2, as I tweaked things and made the conflict a bit tighter and really figured out what the main conflict was, because a good book has a few aspects of conflict. I always try to have a conflict with family, friends, sometimes school, and then there was one other one. But for this book that I'm writing, there was family, friends, and then friends had like another conflict. There was like 2 kind of conflicts in there. And then another one popped up for draft 2. So I realized what I was focusing on for the title was kind of like a split-second chapter. It happened in chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then for the rest of the chapters, it was focusing on something else. So even though chapter 2 and 3 had a big conflict right off the bat, it didn't make sense to have the title focusing on that when the rest of the story is still coming with more conflict, with a different aspect of conflict. It is so hard to talk about this vaguely because this is very vague. I understand. But I don't want to give too many details. I don't want to give any spoilers. So I'm trying to be as vague as possible, and it's hopefully not confusing. But that's where like I kind of figure out my story a bit more in draft 2. Like draft 1, writing it down, and draft 2 is getting to know it, getting to like know the ins and outs and everything about it, and being able to decide like, is my title good? Or do I need a new one? And it's kind of funny because I had that split-second thought of, is this the right title? And then a different title came to me, and it was random, and it just popped into my head, and I absolutely adore this title, and I think it fits the book perfectly, and I love that it happened that way because, I don't know, I have no idea where it came from, but it was just really perfect. If you had watched the vlog, you will have known that, or you will have seen that initially my love interest did not appear in the first chapter. So my love interest actually appeared when the rest of the cast of characters kind of appeared. It follows a friend group, and the friend group has, I don't know, it has a few characters, more than 5. So he kind of got introduced when the rest of the cast of characters got introduced, and I felt like he was just lost in the scene. Like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like we got a substantial enough introduction to him then. So one of the biggest things for me was to kind of like pull more intimate moments with the love interest and the main character and prove that their dynamic is interesting. You know what I mean? Because before, they had no scenes together, like just them. There was no like building of intimacy, and I say intimacy, but I don't mean like sexual intimacy. I mean like relationship, emotional closeness, emotional intimacy. I feel like we just didn't get a ton of it. It just didn't feel organic, and that's kind of where the majority of the additions came from. I have 2 scenes that are fully new in this book, so it was fun to write those. And honestly, in the beginning of August, I was feeling very stressed about my story. I wasn't feeling like I loved it. I felt like it was pretty boring, and to be honest, it could still be boring. It's still boring. Not to say that it's anywhere near ready to be published, because it's definitely not. So in the beginning of the month, I was stuck. So I went on my writing retreat to that hotel. You guys haven't checked out that vlog. It's a very fun vlog. Go check it out. I'll leave a link down below as well. I went on a writing retreat, and I don't think it necessarily did too much for my writing, because one of the days I think I was doing strictly admin work. But I did get some writing done that retreat, and I feel like it was just enough to refresh my mind, and I was able to like come back and just pound it out, you know what I mean? A month, honestly, isn't a ton of time to do a draft. It doesn't sound like a ton of time, and for some people it's not enough time, and for some people it is too much time, you know what I mean? For me, I think it was the perfect amount of time. I don't think I would change the time that I gave myself at all. So here I'm about to talk about how I felt like a month for like this edit was a long enough time for me. And I feel like I want to talk about that a little bit more with you guys. My forehead looks huge when it's cut off screen like that. I want to talk about it a little bit more with you guys because obviously somebody could come in and say, well, obviously it wasn't enough time because look at you have to rewrite your whole draft. And while you're right in that regard, I do have to rewrite the whole draft, I think it was the perfect amount of time because it kind of if I had spent 4 months on this draft thinking it was the right thing to do, and it turns out this is the wrong love interest, that would suck, you know? So I feel like I had to get to this point in order to have this revelation, because obviously I wouldn't have figured it out without betas, because initially I thought it was all in my head. I didn't realize, like, I thought I was just second guessing myself, when in reality that was the truth. You know what I mean? So if I hadn't given myself a month deadline, I would find this out way down the road, and that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? So I feel like I want to just interject. Yes, a month was enough time for me. I'm glad I got this draft, because this draft added so many new scenes that I'm actually going to keep in the new rendition of this story. And honestly, though I'm changing my love interest, the game plan is to keep the majority of the book, just rework it. So I feel like I have some great groundwork here, and I wouldn't have had that, you know, so I feel confident about that. Mostly because I'm a very big procrastinator. If you guys have been around on this channel a while, you'll know that about me. I love pushing things off to the last minute and then like hurrying to get it done, which sometimes works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. But if I had like too much time, I feel like I wouldn't work on it. You know what I mean? I feel like I'd be like, I got time, I'll do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? But having like a month does not sound like enough time to me, even though I know it is, because I've done it before several times in the past. But just doesn't like sound like enough. So it's enough to kind of get me, okay, Sarah, we need to focus, we need to do this, we need to write, and let's go. So I don't think I would change that. My advice is to kind of gauge how you're feeling about your project. And are you a procrastinator? Are you like me, who if you had 3 months to do something, you'd push it off? If so, I would recommend doing a tighter deadline. If not, listen to what you think you can do. Be realistic about it when you're setting your goals and see how it goes. You know what I mean? But going into like the statistics part of it, I added about from 10 to 12,000 words. Actually, no. 12 to 14,000, because this draft topped off at 42,000 words when I sent it to my betas, which is kind of crazy that it's at 42,000. I think If the Broom Fits is at 40,000 for comparison, or for size comparison, or this is what If the Broom Fits looks like. It's very, very small, very petite. So more likely than not, the book that I'm launching in December is going to be this kind of size, which is very fun. I love that kind of like novella size. It's going to be really cute. It's going to be a great edition. It's going to be such a fun edition. Oh my gosh. And I also wrote the epilogue. So before, I didn't write my epilogue. I just had the epilogue idea, and I'm like, I'm not going to write it. I don't want to write it. Because honestly, when I was finishing draft 1, I was so bored. I was like, you know what, Sarah, this is so boring. Your story sucks. And it was a terrible feeling for me. I was very like upset about it. So I had so many brackets that were like, skip this is boring, ew, ugh, you know what I mean, towards the end. And I think it's just because there was no chemistry between my main character and my love interest. So going back and adding those chemistry moments definitely made the story a lot better, in my opinion. And it was so much easier to dive into the epilogue because I loved these characters now. I loved this couple now. So it was just really fun to write their epilogue. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I just feel like watching my reaction as the month went on in that vlog was very interesting. And it was interesting because my mindset changed throughout the vlog. You know, there was days where I'm like, I feel so good about what's going to happen. And then the next clip is like, I hate this. This is hard, you know? And I think it is such a realistic vision of the writing process of being an author. You know, I feel like it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's cloudy days. Sometimes it's stormy. And it was just fun to watch like my mindset shift as the month went on, and how I just became a little bit more confident in my story as the month went on. Interjecting again, I really wish I would have seen that for what it is. I should not have been bored during draft 1. There's really no reason I should have been bored during draft 1. I assumed it was because I knew the story too well, but in reality, it was because I was very much so bored with the love interest and the love story of the story. I was very bored. Hindsight is 2020. Looking back, I definitely should have seen that as a sign. I shouldn't have been bored with the manuscript. But in the moment, I just didn't realize it. And I think it's just because there was no chemistry between my main character and my love interest. So going back and adding those chemistry moments definitely made the story a lot better, in my opinion. Yes, it made the story better, but not where it needs to be. And it was so much easier to dive into the epilogue because I loved these characters now. I loved this couple now. So it was just really fun to write their epilogue. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Watching my reaction as the month went on in that vlog was very interesting. And it was interesting because my mindset changed throughout the vlog. There was days where I'm like, I feel so good about what's going to happen. And then the next clip is like, I hate this. This is hard. And I think it is such a realistic vision of the writing process of being an author. You know, I feel like it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's cloudy days. Sometimes it's stormy. And it was just fun to watch like my mindset shift as the month went on and how I just became a little bit more confident in my story as the month went on. I know I haven't been sharing too many details about this book just yet, mostly because I feel like it's a smidge early. But I want to give you something fun. So it's September 6th when you're watching this video, and September 7th actually marks 3 months? 3 months until the book is going to be published. It's going to be published on December 7th. It's 2021. And I feel like most of you might be able to guess what kind of book, novella, could be coming in December. I feel like it's kind of obvious at this point, but this book that's coming is going to be a Christmas romance. It's going to be a young adult Christmas romance, and I'm really excited to be sharing it with you. I don't have the title to share with you just yet, but I am very excited about how it's developing. I can the working title that I had been going with, I think I can share with you because I don't think it's going to be the title that I'm saving anymore. If I don't share it, it's because I changed my mind at the last second. But the title that it was for the longest time was Sabotaging the Secret Santa, or The Secret Santa Sabotage. And I was never really totally sold. Like, I loved the idea of that play on words. I never was totally sold on that title because I'm reading The Secret Santa Sabotage by Sarah Sutton. That's so cringy. That's so cringy. The Secret Santa Sabotage by Sarah Sutton. So I love alliteration. I mean, come on, my name Sarah Sutton, but that is too much. So yeah, it's a Christmas romance. My patrons knew it over on Patreon first, and they've actually seen kind of cover mock-ups. If you guys liked like the If the Brim Fits with all the fall scenes and things like that, it's kind of like that with a ton of winter scenes. And I want to add more, and I want to add some more like interjections of winter and Christmas time and that kind of like warm feeling that you get when you're walking down the street and it's snowing. You can look at all the Christmas lights because they're beautiful and they're just glowing, you know, and I'm so excited. I love seasonal books because like when you read them, it's like, oh my gosh, I am wrapped in this season right now. Yeah, when I was writing If the Brim Fits, I loved the fall scenes because I had written it in October. So I was able to write it and experience all those fall goodness feels while it was cold outside. I mean, I do live in like a seasonal climate, so some people who don't, I hope my book gives you enough winter vibes that you can kind of feel immersed in that story. But yeah, so that is going to be it. The book is coming December 7th. Titles yet to come, blurbs to come, covers to come, all that fun stuff is coming. Thank you for sticking with me and for being so interested in this book. I know I've been like keeping tight-lipped about it for a long time, and it's mostly because I don't want to just like spoil the feelings too early because I love fall. I want to enjoy the pumpkins and the crisp leaves and all that fun stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm holding off for a little bit longer, but I wanted to share that tidbit of information. It is a Christmas romance. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of video, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment down below how you're feeling today. 1 to 10, let me know. Also, don't forget to check out those videos in the description box down below that I mentioned throughout the video. The vlog where I did my whole monthly vlog. It's really interesting. It was interesting to just watch that whole process unfold. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sarah Sutton. I'm an indie author of 5 young adult romance books, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!